Last time on the Great Ace Attorney 2.
Must say, I was impressed.
Oh, thank you?
Not by you. by your fellow Nipponese.
Oh, I see.
I mean, my understudy, so really I shouldn't be all that surprised. And yet here we are. Ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, the organization. The Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused, which can only mean that somebody at Scottish Yard is involved. I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization.
You say Gregson.
Tobias Gregson.
No, he would not do that! No!
I do not believe it!
Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings.
So we don't actually know who carried out the killings then?
Actually, I do have a name, but I refuse to believe it. It says Lord Strongheart, and I find it impossible to believe.
Is it Scythe's daughter?
What are you saying?
No.
What?
Giselle. Oh, I hope Gregson didn't have any hand in, like, telling her to go and bunk off Iris's dad. That's gonna be...
Oh!
She's a young woman by the name of...
Oh no! Assassin! Assassin!
Oh, for...
Assassin!
Oh my God!
Wait, what? Shin? Oh!
Okay.
Sarah freaking called it!
Oh, God!
Sarah, are you playing this on the side?
No! I genuinely, I have no idea! I'm just thinking back to the list. Oh, no.
She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson.
What was that? Stop it!
Iris doesn't know, even though she's staring into my soul. It's very likely that the man was her father.
This fateful trial you're fighting, one way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs.
Oh, wow.
I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Disillusion Plays The Great Ace Attorney 2, Resolve, where we play the games and do the voices.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Taylor.
You wouldn't know we're working remotely.
The delay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And without further delay, if you do like what we do,
Oh, I see what you did there.
please consider giving us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell.
Yes.
And now let's try and remember what the hell we were doing.
Well, they were trying very, very hard to not reveal to Iris that her dad's actually dead. There's been so many close calls.
Jeez,
what? My heart was about to give out, I think, last time. It's like,
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah,
Yeah,
tight,
it was.
wasn't it?
It was,
Close
as I
calls.
recall, it was a very elegant, yes, Miss Susato, please take Iris to the other room so I can discuss important matters with your father, not related to her missing father. No, certainly not.
What?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I will, but what is it?
That's an excellent question, because I sure as hell don't remember.
No questions at this time, if you please, Miss
but
Susato.
Herlock, we don't know.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Give us a clue.
All we can do is pray. Forgive the discourtesy. That for once, my deduction is awry.
Oh, so we have nothing to worry about then.
Awry is a weird spelling.
It is
isn't
a weird
it's
spelling.
It's like Owry.
It looks
Ow-
so
owry.
wrong.
My deduction is Owry.
Yeah, it feels like it's lacking letters.
I mean, unless it isn't awry and I'm about to be
No, it
corrected
is,
by
it
somebody.
is.
No, it is. No, it is alright.
Yeah. It is a peculiar spelling.
What, like Taylor from the top rope, well, actually.
Oh, now look what's happened,
no.
Taylor. You've missed out the dialogue. So
Doesn't that imply that your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Shums? Which isn't exactly...
Now then. You may be surprised to learn that I am a very busy man.
I don't like the serious look he's got at the minute.
I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations.
Oh, so that's where you were.
So that's what joining us for tea meant.
Gate crashing.
I leave the sending of this in your hands then, my dear.
Oh, they, sorry.
Sorry, what?
I interrupted you.
What? Oh,
You
come
went,
on.
my dear. You didn't say fellows. I thought I interrupted you.
I missed it.
Oh.
Right.
I was going to say,
right, so
I
what
leave
want-
this in the sending of
let me
your
just-
hands then, my dear.
So let me just say, yeah, for the courtesy of the audience. So the way that Sarah and I record this is we have this our setup where we've got like a microphone pointed at each of us, and we're sat next to each other, looking at a television, a TV, right?
Yep.
And at that position, like just at the moment, directly in like my line of sight is our door, and the sun is shining directly through the windows on the door onto the TV, and so I am partially blinded, and so I couldn't see fellows. Like I just
okay.
saw. I leave the sending of this in your hands, then, my dear. And that's it.
Oh.
So no, that's not me being a pain. I just didn't see it.
So editing Pete is going to listen back and go crackers thinking that the audio has not recorded the ends of sentences. But it's actually Pete
just gonna
can't
have-
see them.
I'm just gonna have to like bob and weave so that I can.
Pete's
so I
pulling a
can read.
Mr. Bean where it's like he's got the television, but then he has to be in an adjacent chair, then trying to look at the television because of the glare.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, we don't need to use an aerial though for these. They're all.
Or Pete doesn't need to strip and put all of his like
let's-
clothes on a chair.
That's an image that people don't need. I don't need that image. Never mind.
Maybe editing Pete could put in a clip of what
No.
we mean.
No. Yeah. Okay. The
Yes,
Mr. Bean
fine.
reference.
Yes, not you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not gonna.
I was gonna say, thank God.
That's an entirely new kind of clickbait.
That's
In
it.
this episode, Pete literally takes off his clothes.
Welcome to the Disillusion Played OnlyFans.
Oh, God damn it! You stole my joke.
I'm sorry. Great minds think alike.
Anyway,
and alike.
yes.
I leave the sending of this in your hands, then, my dear
Yes,
fellows.
Professor Makotaba was sending a telegram to Japan regarding the assassin.
Yes, assassin.
Assassin.
Yeah,
I-
and her lot also needs to send a telegram and was like, yes, can this go together?
I am a little perplexed because, like, obviously, I'm still giving him the sort of scene chewing action, and yet he's got that very stern expression. So,
Yeah, he's very, very grumpy right
so
now.
I wonder if I should be giving him that sort
Just
of
like
voice.
Pete. Ah, wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes.
No?
Off I go.
He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite a pace.
Like the Flintstones running noise.
And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too, which I'm sure was an accident.
How cheeky. Well, you know, he is behind on the rent, so...
I must catch up with Father at the telegraph office at once.
And I'll run and call us a cab, straight away,
Jeez.
and hold them up with my gun like a highwayman.
Gun.
And there was me, thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill.
You fool.
You're on your own there, kid.
Oh, you fell for it. hook, line, and
Smoke bomb!
And that's it. Right, so let's see. There's some places seems to run the suit lord. Oh, oh dear, Susato. In some ways, this place seems to rather suit Lord Van Zee. Oh dear, did I say that out loud?
Susato! That's mean.
Oh, okay, so Mr. Vigil's then. Although we have permission to pay Kazuma summer visits. So should we go to Mr. Vigil or the prosecutor's office?
Well, I mean, if everyone wants to hear my dreary tones as Kazuma, then...
All right. That settles it
Sarah, you shut up.
No.
Literally, everyone has been like, Sarah, you're doing such a good job with Kazuma. And Sarah's like,
and the judge.
I don't have the range for male
And
characters.
it was literally a a request that you do the judges from now on.
For some
so-
bizarre reason. Not this judge, though.
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Kazuma.
Oh, God.
Vroom.
I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Ryunosuke.
Oh, there's that theme
Well,
again.
we had paid you a visit earlier, but Miss Susato wouldn't let me rifle through your things when you weren't here.
I was right about what I said, wasn't I?
Sorry?
That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer.
Oh, now you compliment me.
Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor.
Surprise!
See, you started at our courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-san. I'm truly happy for you.
And he's like, and then he goes like, well, don't be. I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't even know who you are.
Who the hell are you again?
Oh, why?
And I am truly thankful to you too. Will you call her by her goddamn name?
Just
Okay.
keeping her at absolute arm's length.
Yeah. Maybe he's doing Ryunosuke a solid here. Maybe he's seeing how they've. Maybe,
I
you know
mean,
what I mean?
I guess.
Not like that, Taylor. For God's sake.
We'll take it in turns.
Oh,
Whoa!
God's sake.
Whoa!
No, I guess it's like,
That's a new meaning to take the bench.
I guess it's just it's obviously society and they're polite how they refer to it, but yeah, it's just like call us Susato or something.
Yes, thank you. Disillusion plays actor Sarah.
I thought you had actually said it. Did
No.
you not say Makotoba at the end? You said everything
No.
else.
I started saying it and then I was like, will you just say a name?
And then she became unreasonably angry.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Hashtag unreasonably angry.
Bleh. And I am truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Makotoba.
I do have a name.
Ryunosuke.
Oh, call him by his name. Defense dude.
I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisioned it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate.
I've learnt a lot of things during my time in London. That the sun never shines, people are mean, and fish and chips are abundant. And about how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Jigoku. And about what happened with your father.
Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice. Why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself.
I want to hear it from you, Kazuma.
As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Thank you, Kazuma Asogi.
And you, judicial assistant.
Makotoba.
God, it's almost like Chippin's small boy assistant, isn't it? Almost. It's just,
Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, dearie me. Okay.
Yes, I would like to know about your disappearance myself.
Are we ready, folks?
Okay.
After he hit his head on the cat.
It's time to learn the truth.
It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on the SS Burya. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain, when a bizarre series of coincidences. I think that's supposed to be series.
A series of consequences.
A series of consequences. When a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events.
It's the cheap bootleg version of a series of unfortunate events.
A series of unfortunate events.
They were very serious. Take me seriously.
Guys, we're ruining the sad bits.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Taylor. Go ahead.
I thought I'd lost my best friend forever.
best friends a little far.
Oof! That's like when I say, Pete, I consider you one of my dearest friends, and he's just like, yep.
The lies continue.
I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck.
I read that as shipped out of the room, and I was very confused. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point?
Amnesia.
Yes. I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head.
Wait a minute.
Have something you have to do. Something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there.
Now, I had two options. I could either consider this an auditory hallucination and accept the fact that I was slowly going crazy, or I could assume it was some kind of divine destiny.
It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me restlessly. Relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port. It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship.
I had no idea of the situation. But I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city. So I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain.
And I have just realised that one thing we ought to probably do is have a quick look around the room in case the dialogue seals us off after we finish all of it.
That's true.
So actually, we're just going to take a short break. And
To have a nosy.
To have a nosy about first.
Lord Van Zeek's fine collection of hallowed chalices, a hallowed chalice, and bottles all neatly lined up.
Yes, he's extremely particular about all that. He has a strict My God, I can't talk today.
Oh dear.
He has a strict regime for everything, from the storage of the casks to the bottling of their contents.
Gosh, you must be having a really tough time of it being his apprentice.
Yes, all the bodies are just really hard to get rid of. Actually, no.
Oh?
He's so particular about it all, he refuses to let anybody else touch any of it.
I like this face. Like,
Yeah,
what I like this sort of like,
For God's sake.
yada yada.
So it's been quite easy for me, in fact.
Talk about weird. That is a thing, though, isn't it? Like, there are some times where it's like, especially if you're on a job or someone's trying to teach you something, and then it's just kind of like, they have such an intricate process for it. It's like, it's just easier for me to do it myself. It's like,
There's actually, I believe it was Doodle Squish actually mentioned that there's I think it's in, I don't know if it's in the Japanese version or something didn't get carried over for context for it, and it's because Lord Van Zeeks has been been poisoned quite a bit. So he orders everything himself.
And does,
He does that's because he's just had so many poisoning attempts. But the translation apparently didn't carry that over, so the context for it's kind of missing. Yeah,
it just comes across that he's a bit facetious.
You could say it was a series of errors.
Oof.
There's Lord Van Zeeks' incredibly stylish desk, which probably costs more than my entire rent payment.
It's not my style, though.
I love this. I love sassy cousins.
I know!
No, I noticed you've been working at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Caesar style.
It's like with his little footstool for a table.
No, it's like a... Oh, yeah, the footstool, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
I
a
thought
little
it was
footstool.
some...
And he's been kneeling on the cushion from the footstool.
Yeah.
I feel like keeping that candle that close to those books is a bad idea. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Van Zeeks when I first saw it. When I first saw it.
I find it the most comfortable way to work.
Really?
I can't do it. After a couple of minutes sitting with my legs folded under me, they start to go tingly.
You need to work on your leg game. Don't exaggerate, Ryunosuke. We both know you can't even manage a minute.
Oh!
Damn, Kazuma's got some sass.
He's so sassy. Okay.
Oh,
What?
I don't like
What
this. It's a scale model of the crime scene.
Oh, yes, I realize that. Does the prosecution office make a model of the scene for every single case?
It keeps him out of trouble.
How else do we while away the hours?
Yeah, apparently so.
What do you think would they pay us for?
Sometimes it helps to visualize things better and notice things you hadn't spotted before. Actually, the miniature notice board is my work.
Be honest, you enjoyed making that.
Oh, of course.
Picture Clint.
Do you know who the man in the portrait
Sarah, calm down.
Hello.
is? My goodness. Who the man in the portrait is, other than Sarah's husbando?
Why would I?
What? But you're Lord Van Zeiks' apprentice.
Yes, apprentice, not friend.
Oof.
Oof.
And during the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture.
Really? I feel like that's a little hard to miss.
Yeah, it's
mean,
not
well,
exactly
there you go.
small, is it?
Read
If
that.
only we'd advance the text. Oh, really? I mean, it's not the smallest picture.
I wouldn't have the first idea what the man decorates his office with.
Yes, I too post larger than life size pictures of figures in my life that have no relevance or importance.
No relevance or importance.
No.
That's not very nice. Clint's kind of important to Barack.
No. That's what I'm making the point that, you know, the fact that Kazuma wasn't interested or anything at all. Is like, I have no idea what the man decorates his office with. Like, a picture that size is just a tchotchke you find at a garage, and it's like, well, you know, as I found this, I may as well put it up on my wall.
I love the bats. The freaking bats.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Casks floor to ceiling, just like the last time we were here.
Hallowed barrels, I suppose.
They're arranged according to vintage, flavor, and region. Every week, they're all taken out and put back in order.
What? Every week?
Lord Van Zeiks can't seem to settle on the perfect way of arranging them, you see. Vintage, flavor, and region don't neatly coincide. That's the trouble.
Gosh, being his apprentice must be a real challenge.
Actually, no.
Oh?
He considers the task too important to entrust to anybody else. So he does it entirely on his own.
He's just there by himself, lugging these huge barrels. Like,
And now we know
Why do
where
you
his
think
biceps come from.
They say, why do you think he got so ripped?
It does explain it.
Are you sure I can't help you, my lord? No. This can't be done by anyone else.
So he's a barrel of laughs here and in court, then.
Yaddy, yaddy.
Right, so, okay. And the bats. Of
The
course, the
bats.
bats. And then we can finally get back on track. Eesh.
Wah!
Well, there goes the family reunion. You disturbed the bats, did you? Fitting companions of Lord Van Zeiks, wouldn't you say?
I have no idea what you mean. Sorry. I have no idea what you mean by that statement.
Auntie Enid is an absolute blast.
Actually, I've seen things flying in Lord Strongheart's office, too. Doves, I think.
Perhaps you have to like birds to attain rank in the judiciary here. Although bats aren't birds, of course.
Flying things.
Flying things.
How about a sparrow for you?
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing. Sorry, just thinking out loud.
think a bit quieter.
Alrighty then. I think with that is everything. So no stone left unturned. Just double
Yeah, I think
check.
we've got everything.
Yeah.
What? Was there one at the
No.
the right? To the right?
No, it's the desk. No, it's the...
What are you suggesting, Taylor?
I thought there was something along the bottom, but no, I think it just.
No, it's just carpet and floor and no.
Okay, right, let's find out what he's been doing.
Let's speak to him. Wait, let's see if we can let's move and then speak to him. Oh no, I wondered if we could like move him around the room, but we can't. All right, okay, your journey to Britain.
Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. Sights, the sounds, the smells.
The language?
Oh, yes. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realized now that I'd escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course.
How terrifying for you.
Yes, it was, Judicial Assistant Makotaba. Quite terrifying.
One day you'll learn my name.
Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap.
I read that as fathers and was
I
like,
did,
I was
too,
so,
I
for
nearly
a
did
moment,
it.
I was like really confused.
What?
One being your knowledge of English, I suppose?
Oh no, I hadn't really thought of that. So I suppose 3 feathers then.
That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now.
Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. But he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world.
Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. Oh my god, I can't talk.
So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zeiks' apprentice then?
That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scottish Yard. And by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend the meeting.
By sheer coincidence.
Very sus. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play.
But that's been your knowledge of the law.
Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was...
I lost all of my past memories except my legal knowledge.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he's like it's like Nick in the Professor Layton crossover, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
He's like, I am but a lowly baker, and yet I, for some reason, know about the law.
I like to point at things and shout objection.
It feels good.
Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office.
And then, 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber.
Yes, I got lost on my way to the masquerade ball, you see, and
Yes. Yes, I did.
your father, Geshin.
Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream.
Mark my words, Ryunosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. I miss him having the headband. It looks-
The perpetually flowing wind.
Yes.
Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here?
16 years ago. Oh.
Aww.
When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Geshin father had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Makotaba. Your father, Susato-san. Oh, now you remember
there
her
it is.
name. Oh my!
She's shocked that he remembered her name, not the,
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
not the revelation.
Makotoba's like lying all over the place, though.
Yeah. Oh God. Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me.
Oh?
Then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it, assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life.
What did it say?
Hot, horny babes.
Oh, waiting in your area.
Yeah. I'm sorry for ruining the sad moments.
It's okay. It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name.
Ooh.
Oh no!
As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Oof. Presumably, the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, could not have been present at the closed trial.
He could have been
He
present.
could have been, sorry. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer.
And then he came back, and then was executed again. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way.
I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment as always going to...
Someone who knew the truth.
But someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem.
But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing?
Because it was signed Lord Strongheart.
Well, yeah.
I mean...
There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first thing I'd heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree.
Well, what did my father have to say about the letter?
I'm going to guess you shouldn't have read that. Give it to me. I'm not going to talk about this for 60 years. Oh.
I couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness.
He is good at doing that.
It couldn't have been easy for him. And he'd done it out of consideration of my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku.
Ah, to the other visiting student.
He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily, before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief. She too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. Truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way.
Kazuma-sama.
Don't get any tears on my outfit, Judicial Assistant Makotaba.
What we learned in today... for God's sake.
Oh, he's
What we
okay.
learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Lord Van Zeiks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was...
It's clear that the inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along.
What? You mean you knew?
The real question is, who's been giving orders to the inspector?
Gee, I so wonder.
I can't think of anyone strong.
I was gonna say, it must have been someone with a strong heart to give such ruthless orders.
Yes, Baroque van Zeiks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave.
No! He was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame.
Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life.
Kazuma.
On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. Oof.
Is that really it?
There's all 4 dialogue options there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Curious about presenting it.
Kazuma, what do you make of this?
There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss evidence. The courtroom. So it seems you're still confused by the situation.
Oh. Damn it.
That's what I make of it.
I get the feeling my friend's always going to have the edge over me, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I guess there's nothing to do.
Show him the attorney's thing, the armband.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Kazuma, this is your armband.
Actually, I think it's yours now.
Sorry?
You're the defense lawyer. You have a talent for it. I've always known that you would. But now you've chosen to take that path in life. As your friend, couldn't be happier for you. Or more proud.
Kazuma.
So you keep a hold of that. Besides, I'm a prosecutor now. That armband would have no meaning for me.
Well, if you're sure.
Because everyone knows that once you go, once you've gone into one career, that's it. There's no changing back.
No turning back.
That's it. We didn't have a situation where Edgeworth was a defense attorney for any particular reason. Briefly. It's impossible. It's unthinkable.
Thank you, my friend.
Aw.
All right then. Well, I guess that's that then.
Yep.
Once you know what they say, once you prosecute, you can't, you don't unprosecute.
Yes, that's definitely what they say.
Once you
I couldn't think of a rhyme.
Once you prosecute, you can't go back.
You can't not secute.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, yeah.
But once you prosecute, you can't stop secute.
Oh, no.
Good one.
It's not though, is it?
This is the ward where Mr. Virgil was brought, apparently.
To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again.
Nope.
Whoop.
Ah, the lawyer. Hello again.
What? Are you feeling better now, Mr. Virgil?
Yes. Thank you. Somewhat better.
I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget.
The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just... Wait, what?
Wait, really?
Hang on a sec.
Wait a minute!
You just missed him. Did you guys go for lunch or something?
What's this witchcraft?
Oh! Kazuma beat us
to it.
We obviously-
Be two places at
We
once.
got a slow omnibus, guys. That's what happened. He got the direct line straight across, and we had to go all around London for
No,
a bit.
he just used the ultimate instinct, and then he
There.
popped up, and it was like, dun, dun.
I mean, yeah, I suppose there is that too. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all of this upon myself.
Please, don't think like that.
I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years. I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well.
His resemblance to Jonathan Joestar is like so uncanny that I feel like the posing has to be a reference.
You mean specifically the posing, not his face, right?
Yeah,
Well, no, I mean, he's got like the same hair color, the same kind of, obviously not the same physical stature because he's not ripped.
He's
but-
not an average high school student, no.
No, he's not an average high school student. But it's like, again, I feel like whoever is making these games is a big fan of JoJo.
yeah, I feel like the posing is familiar and I just can't place it. But
I don't know if it's,
sure,
if it's
someone
like,
might let us
is
know.
it like is it like a collection of paintings, maybe
I
like
feel like
famous
it could be a
paintings, maybe,
painting,
or
but-
statues, like art
Yeah.
pieces.
I feel like that would make sense, but
Maybe, and then it's like, no, it's JoJo.
yeah,
I mean,
mate, it's
it could
just-
very well just be
yeah,
JoJo.
Yeah.
You mean about your dismissal?
Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident. Didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help.
So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then.
I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but... it wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago! It wasn't me! I swear it! I swear it's true!
Oh, Mr. Vigil.
I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened?
I don't like that face.
No.
I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I want someone to tell me what I should have done. And there we go.
Ooh.
Gregson. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scottish Yard couldn't know about.
Details of the Reaper's marks, yes.
It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him.
You'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf.
Whoa! Never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression,
Alibi.
so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here.
So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident.
Yeah, yes. He asked me to make an apprentice at the Make an apprentice? He asked me to make
Catching.
He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence.
But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters.
Was I expecting Iris
It was
to strike
not-
pop up
it
there?
This is slander. This was not how you say taking prisoner. This was a sleepover with Without an element of consent, yes.
Si, capo, si.
Wow!
Yes. Yeah.
So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud, so how was that any different from how Gregson would normally act?
Don't talk ill of the dead, boy!
What the inspector asked me to do, yes.
Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though.
And, as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me.
Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however.
We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. It was at midnight on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution.
But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it?
Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare imagine what a chilling plan it was.
Berkeley was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned.
I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now.
Oh really? Do you want to share it with the class?
The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed. Correct.
Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial. Burial.
Barrel.
It was barrel.
Immediate burial. The body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery, just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again.
Grumpy Iris.
Pouty face.
When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin, as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But, for some reason, that day, the coffin was already nailed shut.
No!
I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived.
So, you mean the coffin contained...
Yeah, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery.
Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long.
So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free.
But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder?
I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that day without help from someone working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. Alrighty.
Obviously, you knew the man then? The professor, I mean, Genshin Asogi.
Yeah, I remember him well, in fact.
Would you mind telling us what you know?
Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the men was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary.
Yay!
Elite members of the Jude.
Every time I see it, attended only by elite members of the judiciary.
There you go.
They called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity.
The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it?
It was a time of delicate diplomacy. And
Diplomacy. Is it diplomacy?
No,
Diplomacy.
it is diplomacy.
It's diplomacy.
I'm just being sick again.
it was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly.
The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience.
Oh, what do you mean exactly?
I mean, he had incredible resilience and noble character. What else do you think I mean? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. And I've forgotten what voice I gave him, so this might be a bit weird. Maybe Taylor will do it, I don't know. There's
All right.
5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken. Were you really responsible?
I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life. Yes.
Oh, that's it. All right then. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise.
Guilty.
At night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something unusual.
There was a big tunnel in his cell.
Behind a poster.
Something unusual. What?
There was a big tunnel in his cell. The last will and testament of Genshin Impact. Also, I'm sorry, Sarah. Of Genshin Asogi.
Read it this that moment.
All right, fine, whatever. As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand.
Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably.
As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back.
But why did you find that so unusual?
You know, just as a random off thought, I don't know. It couldn't possibly be the hit list, could it? It couldn't possibly be kind of like the last few people he needed to.
Why would he
deal
kill
with.
his own son? Was he on?
Yeah, because Kazuma's name was on there.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Okay. Then, yep. Okay then.
That'd be a bit grim.
Yep. Then that's my memory, not remembering things. Yep. Okay. Fine.
No, I have a feeling that that list, those top secret whatevers were... Because Gregson really didn't want it getting out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that they were the Reaper's targets, and that Asa Shin was on there because she had outlived her usefulness.
Yeah.
And she needed to be assassinated.
I guess. I mean, yeah, like, yeah, weird.
And then I would assume that Kazuma was on there because if Kazuma found out, then...
He'd be a problem.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. But Wilson as well. Or did he know? 'Cause he was on it, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
Unless he was the one that because I feel like I remember in Sherlock Holmes, actually, the movies, with Robert Downey Jr., there was a plot point where Wilson had pronounced somebody dead, but the guy had then later broken out of his grave and escaped. It's a Sherlock Holmes story.
No, but it could parallel it. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, but so it was essentially that he had declared him dead, but then it was like, well, he obviously wasn't dead. And then Sherlock was like, well, we have to restore your good name, my dear fellow. And so if it's the same sort of thing where Wilson was privy to the plot or something along those lines, because he was good friends with Makotoba when he was over there. So if they conspired to try to set Genshin Impact free, then
I have another.
maybe that...
I have another
I don't
question.
think Wilson's name was on the autopsy, though. I think it was something
I have
else.
another question. So with that, who do you think wrote the list at the moment? Where do you think the list came from?
Strong art.
Strongheart. Gotta be.
Right. The problem is that list had that it was the names were written in sort of, I don't know how to word it.
They
like,
were written in like a Japanese Morse code, weren't they?
Well, it said like T. Greguson, for example, instead of Gregson. So, do you think it came from Japan or somebody of Japanese descent? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, maybe Makotoba will be the big baddie this entire time.
Yeah, maybe. It's just something I've just remembered that, yeah, it was written in
it
sort of
was,
Japanese
yeah.
script.
Anyway,
let's...
If Makotoba is the ultimate, or one of the ultimate people behind the conspiracy, it'll be some kind of like, well, I was trying to do it to ensure the peace between our two nations would remain. And although it was an unconscionable act, I did what I had to do for the future of both of our countries. Rada.
oof, yeah.
Anyway,
kind
we
of-
should probably advance
What
the
is
text.
it? It's this, then he just sort of comes out like,
Yes, perfectly balanced, as everything should
Oh my
be.
god, he's not Thanos.
But why did you find that so unusual?
but why did we find it so
Shut up.
unusual?
Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh?
Yeah, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see.
What sort of conditions?
Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception.
Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly.
Yeah, of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable.
And what was the exception you mentioned?
I'm gonna guess a pen.
To the personal effects he was allowed.
I would have thought his sword, but
It won't be the pen because he's written.
oh,
Oh no! All right, Taylor. Yeah.
okay.
That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials.
And that'll be because if he knew something, then he could potentially
Yeah.
leak secrets.
Specifically, no pens or paper.
I thought he just, did I miss? I thought you said that he had his will written in his hand. Am I being stupid?
He did.
Yeah, that's
he
the
did. That was the reason it's unusual, is
That's the
because he
point,
had
yeah.
something he wasn't supposed to have.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So while I am a little bit stupid, like I'm not totally stupid. Like okay.
No, yeah, it's unusual because he wasn't allowed a pen and a paper, so how could he write a will if
Yes.
he's not allowed?
Okay,
So why has
okay.
he got it? Yeah.
Yes.
Must
okay.
have smuggled it in the old prison wall.
Okay. The brain is working slowly, slightly, kind of.
Slightly slowly.
The dots are being connected. There's just no context or information connected to the dots.
So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him.
Yeah, that was the long and short of it. I've no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back?
Please, turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline.
But you're about to be killed, mate. Like, you ain't really got one.
He's still posing.
But, you know it's against the rules.
You're the only person who's seen. If you just agreed to keep quiet.
All right, then. But what's on that paper?
A poo stain.
My last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
How can a will be a weapon?
So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without a trace.
What? What do you mean it
Well, I
vanished?
suppose it was sent. Passed on to someone else.
It would seem this isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will.
Oh.
I wonder if that's what Herlock was faxing. Probably not, though.
I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but
But somehow it disappeared.
it was after Asogi's execution.
Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak.
Jeez, I didn't realise there was a little girl in here. Sorry, she was being so quiet until now. The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see.
Poor Kazuma-sama.
And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean.
That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming, "It can he have disappeared completely?"
That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it?
But does it or does it not make sense?
I don't know, does it, Taylor?
I don't know. I have a feeling we're going to have to find out next time.
We do indeed have to find out next time, yes.
Oh, but it was just getting going.
I know, I don't want to end it, but unfortunately we have to. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching once again. If you do like what we do, then please consider giving us a like, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified of our video uploads every Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And until next time, we'll see you again.
Catch you in the next one, everybody.
And until we meet again, we hope that you have a series of good luck along your week.